Hello children, welcome to the online EVS Class 3 Athlete School at Home. Today we are going to cover Day 9 of Unit 6, Soil. Every day you would be attending the online class and doing the homework for that day. You may then check your answers the following day. Make sure that you have your student reader, worksheet and notebook with you during the class. So let's get started with today's lesson. Now let's revise what we have learned so far about soil. I'm going to ask you a few questions and I want all of you to think about the answers. My first question is, what are the factors that help in soil formation? And the answer is rain, wind, plant and animal. My next question is, how is the soil important for us? And the answer is plants grow in soil and is home to several animals. Now tell me, how does a change in temperature affect soil formation? And the answer is when it is very hot, rocks expand. When it becomes cold, they shrink. This repeated heating and cooling of rocks cause cracks in them and finally they break into small pieces and then soil is formed. My last question for all of you is, what are the mineral particles in soil? And the answer is sand, silt and clay are the mineral particles in soil. Now children, I want all of you to take out your student reader and open to SR5 while I count from 5 to 0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and 0. On SR5, we are going to read about types of soil. While I read, I want all of you to follow in your own readers. Introduction. Depending on the composition of the soil, we have 3 different types of soil. Let us learn more about them. So the 3 different types of soil are clay soil, sandy soil and loamy soil. Now, first we'll read about clay soil. Soil with a lot of clay particles and very little sand and silt is called clay soil. It holds lots of water, but water cannot flow through it. There is very less air for roots to breathe. Therefore, plants do not grow too well in such a soil. Rice, grass, cabbage can grow in it. Clay soil is used for making pots and mud walls. Children, we know that soil has mineral particles in it like sand, silt and clay. And depending upon the quantity of each of these in the soil, there are 3 different types of soil. We've read about clay soil in which there is a lot of clay and very little sand. But this clay soil is very tight. The particles are very close to each other. It holds a lot of water and there's very little air that is there in this soil. That is why plants cannot grow very well in soil, which is clay. Only very few plants like rice, cabbage and grass can grow in clay soil. Clay soil is usually used more for making pots and pans and mud walls. Now let's read about sandy soil. The soil with too much sand and very little clay is called sandy soil. The soil is very loose and rough. It cannot hold any water and quickly dries. Therefore, plants do not grow well in it. Sandy soil is used for construction purpose. So sandy soil has very little clay and lot of sand. That is why the particles in this soil are very big and they are loose. That is why it cannot hold water for a long time. It dries up very quickly. Also, the particles of this type of soil are very rough and coarse. That is why plants don't grow very well in it. Sandy soil is usually used for construction. And finally, we'll read about loamy soil. The soil that has a healthy mix of sand, silt and clay and some organic matter is called loam or loamy soil. Loamy soil is tight enough to hold water but loose enough for air to exist. The organic matter provides nutrients for plants. Loamy soil is very fertile and therefore good for plant growth. The loamy soil is ideal for growing plants because it has the right amount of sand, silt, and clay, as well as organic matter. The particles are close enough to hold water, and at the same time, there is enough space for air to exist in the soil. The organic matter adds nutrients to the soil, which is essential for plants to grow. That is why loamy soil is best for growing plants. Now, children, I have a few questions for all of you. My first question is, which soil among clay, sandy, and loamy is best for the growth of plants? And the answer is loamy soil because it has the right amount of sand, silt, and clay along with organic matter, which is ideal for the growth of plants. Now tell me, why is clay soil not good for the growth of plants? And the answer is because water cannot flow through. So the particles in a clay soil are very tightly packed and it holds water for a long time. Water cannot flow through it and there's very little air in the soil. That is why it is not good for the growth of plants. And finally, tell me, why is sandy soil not good for the growth of plants? And the answer is because it cannot hold water. The particles in a sandy soil are very loose, they're very rough and coarse, and they do not hold water for a long time and rise up very quickly. That is why it is not good for the growth of plants. Now I want all of you to take out your workbooks and open to WS 8 while I count from 5 to 0. 5, 4,